Day 1 of making WinExpert's 1 gallon Merlot. We start by opening the kit and inspecting that everything is here. First we find a pack that includes the instructions and any adjuncts we need to complete this kit. Up next we find 3 separate oak packages. These will be used today, so keep them close by. And last out of the box is the large juice bag. This contains the concentrated wine must that will create the body of our wine. It is good to give it a shake up to make sure that all the sugars haven't settled to the corners. We start the process by sanitizing a vessel that can hold at least 1 gallon of wine. We are using Star San, a no-rinse sanitizer, so we will not be rinsing like the directions say, and remember to not fear the foam. We are also doing something different by adding more than 1 cup of hot water. We're actually using 500 milliliters. This will make mixing in the bentonite a lot easier. And then something that Phil should have done earlier was open this package and inspect that everything was here to start with. We have the instructions, which Phil claims to have committed to memory. A package of potassium metabisulfite. Other stuff that Phil dropped on the ground. A clear package of Chilean. They're not going to be able to read it, idiot. Then the last thing that didn't fall on the floor, the package of generic wine yeast. It's this and the bentonite that fell on the floor that we will be needing today. Don't look at my face, it ruins the mystery. And here we have the bentonite. And also at this point, he is still yet to realize that he's also dropped another package containing the potassium sorbate, as seen here. Now that we have our bentonite, we can add it to the 500 milliliters of hot water that we have in our fermenter. It is important to ensure that it is thoroughly mixed. As bentonite is technically clay, it does have a tendency to clump in small amounts of water. We'll fast forward Phil being paranoid. Next, we need to open the large juice bag. The cap can be a little stubborn, so Phil likes to use a sanitized screwdriver in order to pry open the top instead of trying to pull it open by force. We then add this directly into the fermenter. We're using a wide-mouthed jar. If you're using something with a smaller opening, you may need to use a sanitized funnel to facilitate pouring it into the vessel. Remember that anything that comes in contact to your wine at any point should be sanitized. And again, the instructions say to use 1 cup of hot water, and again we'll use 500 milliliters instead. We pour the hot water into the juice bag to make sure that we get every last bit of sugar out of there. As when working with such small quantities, every drop counts. Then Phil performs a non-necessary stir. Next, top off the fermenter to 132 milliliters. That's just above a gallon. With room temperature water. Use good quality drinking water. If you're not sure of the quality of your water, use bottled water from a reputable source. We're going to fast forward through Phil totally over stirring this, but it is a good idea to give it a good stir before getting a hydrometer reading, which Phil also skipped. But right before adding the oak is the best time to get a hydrometer reading, as the oak can throw off your readings a bit. So I suppose at least he acknowledged he was supposed to do a hydrometer reading. Or does that make it worse? Now we add all the oak. It is important to double check that you do have all the packages, as sometimes it is easy to misplace one. If you add it later, it is going to throw off the taste of the wine a bit. Remember, experience is the act of having failed before. Because there was so much oak floating around right on top, I thought it was a good idea to give it a bit of a stir. At this point, we will want to use a sanitized thermometer to make sure that the wine is between 72 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Although Phil again is going to skip doing the actual test and jump straight into the final step of the day, and that is adding the yeast directly on top of the musk. And you may realize that the oak is still getting in the way a bit. Yeah, just realized that. As long as you keep trying to learn past Phil. So even though the instructions say to not stir the yeast in, we're going to actually go against the instructions again and give it a little stir to make sure that the yeast is underneath the oak as it gets activated. We top it off with a lid that has an airlock before placing it into our fermentation chamber. But you can place yours in any location that is room temperature between 72 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. It should take between 24 and 48 hours for the fermentation to start, but it could start sooner. If nothing happens within the first 48 hours, contact your local homebrew supply shop and see if they can give you any advice. And don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe to help boost our egos.